Education meeting for March 9th, 2023. And we will first open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hanks, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we have our roll call vote. Vice President Wong. Here. Clerk Coffey. Here. Trustee Venegas.
Present. And
Trustee Pizzotti.
Present.
Approval of action, and I too am present. Approval of action taken in closed session. We have Government Code Section 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators, WSTA, CSEA, and Management. Information received. Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release. Information received. And now we have approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? No? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve?
I move.
Okay, Trustee Venegas moves.
I second.
Vice President Wong seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. And now we have our communications and celebrations. And first I have our student board member report, but that's out of order on here that I'm looking at. So am I correct on that it was on, is it on this one? Okay, it's on the one I printed out, but maybe, perfect, thank you, sorry. I printed an old one because I'm an old school writer and highlighter. But we will welcome you in a moment. So we have recognition of River City High School students. And Mr. Ainsworth, we have you coming up as Director of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Learning to introduce our team.
Good evening, trustees, superintendent, and cabinet. We're excited to have Mr. Chris Hanks from River City here tonight with his students sharing an update on a River City High School production. So I'll turn things over to Mr. Hanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ainsworth. All right. Good evening, members of the school board, Superintendent Hildreth, and members of the cabinet, others in the room. I'm Christopher Hanks, Career Technical Education Instructor at River City High School, teacher for the Stage and Screen Pathways, and Program Director for RCHS Productions. I'm happy to say that our career technical education programs at RC are going strong. And while we will be sharing about the Stage and Screen Pathways today, please know that amazing things are happening across CTE programs. We have a new brand, a new logo here for our CTE. River CTE is where we urge students to accelerate your excellence through rigorous academics, technical mastery, and professional skills. And I think you'll see some examples of that today. To help show what this looks like, I have the privilege of presenting this evening with this year's producers of Thespian Troupe 8918. Before we begin, however, I'd like to publicly thank each one of these student leaders as well as the members and pledges of our Thespian Troupe for all of the dedication and positive energy. They are the heartbeat powering all that you're about to see, and I believe that you too will be impressed by all of their hard work. So, take it away.
Good evening. I'm Mackenzie Hurst, Senior and Executive Producer for Thespian Troupe 8918. And I am excited to share with you tonight the many ways RCHS Productions brings the arts alive. March is Theater in Our Schools Month, so we are joining thousands of students and theater educators to raise awareness of the impact of theater education. Together, we hope to draw attention to the needs for more access to arts, media, and entertainment education for all students, and to assert that theater education teaches vital 21st century skills critical to success on and off the stage. High school students who earn multiple art credits are 5 times more likely to graduate than students with low involvement in the arts. Our Thespian Troupe is once again surpassing expectations and experiencing our strongest year to date. As the CTE Arts Media and Entertainment Pathways CTSO, or Career Technical Student Organization. This club not only offers weekly meetings for any interested students, but allows for leadership opportunities for inducted members and pledges alike. To become inducted, a pledge must provide 100 hours of service in the troop activities. Subsequent ranks are earned at each additional 100 hours. To date, members and pledges have banked more than 7,000 hours of after-school stage and screen work. This year, we reconstructed our club's leadership to allow for producers to focus on each of the troop's efforts. We've engaged in leadership training, starting with a producer retreat at Sly Park, where we met physical and mental challenges and devised plans for the year. This really energized us.
Hello, I am Alexis Enos, a senior and one of our music collaborative producers. We also began this year with enhanced spaces in the production lab for collaboration. New soft seating and a mini stage light rig have transformed this classroom into a wall-to-wall creative space. It's been shown that arts education helps to increase students' ability to manage behavior and make decisions and cultivate a positive connotation of themselves. And an exciting first for the Thespians, we collaborated with the River City Regiment as creative partners for this year's marching band show, La Nuba. Taking inspiration from the Cirque du Soleil show the music is based on, we created a mobile set, large-scale props, over-the-top costumes for our clown-like dance performers. Competing alongside the school's largest band and guard ever was a thrill. Traveling with the show on the move was a whole new angle for our technicians, performers, and we are thrilled to have helped earn new high scores for the regiment's long run of successes.
Hello, I am Ajani, a senior at Yolo High School and co-producer of our Studio Theater productions. Another fall highlight was the revival of our haunted house. Fully realized by students, we transformed the Studio Theater into a haunted house full of ghoulish farmers and flesh-eating plants. We performed for about 100 students to raise funds, and we opened our doors for free at West Sacramento's Trunk or Treat. With the lines across the quad, we spooked upwards of 300 thrill seekers. Now, consider this. 95% of school administrators believe that theater experiences will improve a student's academic skills. Soon after wrapping up on La Nuba and Haunted House, we turned our efforts to It's a Wonderful Life, a radio play. Based on the holiday classic film, this version takes the heartwarming story into a 1940s radio station complete with voice actors and live Foley artists. Including the talents of 35 cast and crew members, this show was well received as a welcome to the holiday season.
Hello, I'm Morgan Ekasala. Currently, I'm a junior and the producer of Raider Studio Films. RCHS Productions and Thespians do more than just theater stuff. In fact, in the fall, while our screen classes were in full force, the advanced filmmakers pitched, wrote, and produced 5 fully realized films, short films. This project is called Counterparts, since we bring these films to life using the Thespian troupe as our acting pool. These 5 major films premiered at our 6th annual film festival. At this formal event, we bestowed 36 awards for high achievement in acting and filmmaking across genres of documentary, comedy, and drama. It's been shown that the arts education promotes academic self-efficacy and engagement in schools, both predictors of persistence to graduation.
I'm going to butt in here, okay, because this is important. So I want to boast a little bit about these guys because they're not doing it themselves. So we had a great showing this year at the Linnea High School Theater Festival. And after a few years of it being virtual, we were all excited to return in person for this 3-day festival at Folsom Lake College, which brings together students from over 65 schools across Northern California. Having only 3 weeks to work on this upon our return from winter break to polish up our submissions, the Thespians and Advanced Theater Performance class competed at a very high level. Congratulations go out to sophomore Brianna Solis for earning a bronze award for her costume designs. Seniors Johnny Updegrove and Paige Simple for a bronze awarded duo scene, and ASB President and Senior Melody Lozano for the coveted Respondent's Choice for her musical theater solo. Next slide. And reaching into a new category win, Darren McCammon scored a gold award for their set design and presentation, and our noir-styled one-act Sorry Wrong Number brought home an ensemble win for a silver award. That recognition would not have been possible without Mackenzie Herr's driving dedication as the lead character. For this, they earned a rare Outstanding Performance in a One-Act award. This doubled any awards that we had ever brought home combined. So this is just one weekend of recognition for outstanding work that I get to see every day.
Hello, I'm Darin, senior and producer for our unique art collective. We've continued to host school-wide art contests with the troupe supplying art supplies to the winners. More visibly, perhaps, is our first venture into mural art. Given the green light by the administration and funded with a generous $1,000 grant from Chalk It Up. We have spent the last many months conceiving, prepping, and painting the school's largest mural. At 800 square feet, this vibrant mural will depict the likeness of teacher-nominated student creatives, highlighting the many artistic talents of River City High School. We hope to have an unveiling of the finished mural over the next few months. The National Endowment for the Arts has shown that disadvantaged students in grades 8 to 12 who receive an arts education are 3 times more likely to earn a bachelor's degree than students who lack those experiences.
Hello, my name is Mary Hefner. I'm a sophomore and act as the producer and lead writer for our podcast. All of these amazing things we get to do really takes a lot of money and effort. Beyond district support, the bulk of the resources come from CTE grants and thespian fundraising. Notable though, in-kind donations of service are also of great value. Each year, we producers meet with an advisory panel composed of local professionals in the fields of arts, media, and entertainment. Beyond keeping our pathway courses on track, these professionals often find time to provide insight through guest speaking and mentorship. So far this year, we've had the chance to meet and work with local filmmaker and entrepreneur Angel Cardenas and local fabled storyteller Joyce Ormond. Additionally, RCHS Productions alumni are constantly dropping in, and Mr. Hanks puts them on the spot to offer us advice about their college and work life. We get a chance to learn about their college classes and theatrical experience at colleges ranging from Sac City and Sacramento State to UC Irvine and even the University of Southern Oregon. As you're beginning to notice, our creative work extends far beyond the tight walls of our studio theater. We are well into the world of content creation. Now, in its 3rd season, Nave Podcast is a post-apocalyptic narrative serial that can be subscribed to wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I love getting to collaborate with my team and extend this story and see its worldwide reach. Additional student-driven content falls into the efforts of Under the Bus, Mediocre Movies, and Beyond the Studio Doors. Each one of these series are posted to our Instagram and YouTube channel. Like and subscribe.
Hi, I'm Paige, senior and producer for our music collaborative. Did you know that audience-based participation in the arts and personal participation in creating art are both linked to higher levels of civic engagement and social tolerance? I've had the pleasure to perform in just about every RCHS production show over the last 4 years. Still, there's nothing like learning from the best. We all feel very grateful to have had the opportunity to attend a number of professional theater performances this year. Having the chance to see professional performers and technicians working in a variety of venues portraying a range of stories and dramatic genres is truly eye-opening. And while witnessing professionals is one thing, working alongside them is even better. This year, we will have had 3 unique experiences expanding our notion of what a career in the arts can look like. With tours of the professional spaces of Broadway, Sacramento, to workshops on storyboarding for film and animation, through to professionally recording our vocals at Disneyland, the real-life learning that we get to engage with is transformative. Thank you for your continued support so we might get to break out of the classroom walls to explore the possibility of what comes next. Can you imagine the benefits of this fact? High school students engaged in actor training develop a higher level of empathy, heightened understanding of what others are thinking and feeling, and are better able to control their own positive and negative emotions.
Hi, it's me again, Ajani. All of this amazing stuff brings us up to today. Presently, we have just begun the building of and rehearsals for Honk, a modern take on the classical story, The Ugly Duckling. With the cast and crew topping 50, this show will be directed by Mr. Hanks and musically directed by John Arms. However, most of the designs and fabrication of set, props, and costumes is being done by us. We invite you to come see one of our 7 performances in April and May, where you will experience this well-known story in a way you could never imagine. In fact, we're reimagining this award-winning West End musical as taking place with wildlife found in New York Central Park, with a focus on fun fashion and utilizing numerous new scenic and lighting elements. This show is sure to be another one of our marquee productions.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Huffner, Senior and Technical Director for Honk. I'd like to leave you with this last advocacy quote for Theater in Schools Month. We must not fail to create career pathways for students of the arts, career pathways that provide even more reason to stay in school for students confidently moving toward a bright future. We do have a number of fun things planned throughout spring besides Honk. We'll be touring again to WUSD elementary schools with storybook theater, and introducing chapter book theater intended for middle school grades. We'll close off the year with a few award celebrations. The annual Hanky Awards are peer-to-peer awards, where we honor each other with handmade photo frames, noting a superlative feature of our co-creators. And finally, we'll close the year with the Thespian Induction and Rank Advancement Ceremony. Officially chartered in 2019 with 15 students, our troop roster has reached 70 lifetime inductees, with an additional 20 prospective inductees this year. And based on an estimated total of 10,000 after-school hours by year's end, that means nearly 100 star ranks, each representing 100 hours of troop involvement, will be awarded.
Thank you, Benjamin and fellow thespians. Woo! Now, did that sound like a lot? Because it sure did to me. We want to thank the board, Superintendent Hildreth, and the cabinet once again for the ongoing support of the arts. Not all districts have administrations that champion the creative arts in such a robust way as ours. Additionally, we must thank Mrs. Billingsley and the River City administration, teachers, staff for their continued support. We couldn't do all of this without them. We hope the facts shared tonight and the program results we've offered can attest to the power that well-supported arts programs have on the life of both participants and the community at large. Imagine the growth and impact our program will have with the new Performing Arts Center. We implore you to continue to invest in the arts for us and the future of West Sacramento.
All right. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to share with you. Can we hear it for this team? Yeah. Good. And if there's any questions you have about what we've been working on, or
Yes, and then I know we want to come down and take a picture with you all too. We'd be honored to do that. Okay, are there any comments from the board?
Congratulations on growing your thespians.
Yes.
So thank you for investing in them. Thank you for pouring yourself into them. This is why we do what we do. So,
Absolutely.
And you all have great stage presence, by the way. So many more, much better than I do. So congratulations.
Trustee Passati?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add congratulations on some of the awards that you've now been bringing home. That's incredible. Expanding the program is one thing, but then being able to actualize and bring home some awards for recognition of what kind of program it is, I think is something else entirely. And, I was able to go to the homecoming games, and I got to see your performance, so I was very much impressed.
Cool. Good. All right.
Last thing. I commend you guys so much. It is difficult to be on stage and to present, and especially in front of an audience. Some people that you're like, oh my gosh, you guys, hands down, amazing. Kudos to you guys. And those of you that are not here, let them know it's hard work. I know I was on a stage once back in 3rd grade, but but just saying, you guys really do rock it. So good job.
Thank you all.
And it
Appreciate
is so dreary outside today, but you have just brought all of the light and I think set the bar for all of the presentations this evening that we are going to work on having stronger voice and presence as we go on. So thank you for that. And thank you also for mentioning the theater that will be here, because the voters of West Sacramento and taxpayers have supported that you will be getting a new theater, as so well deserved and needed, and excited for that to come. And lastly, you spend so many hours outside of the regular school hours. I know that's a lot for all of the students to give your commitment. I know for families to give your time to drive and to pick up. And of course to you, Mr. Hanks, for giving all of your time as well. It makes a difference in everyone's life, and all of the stats that you showed, you're making that difference. So thank you. And with that, we're coming down. Oh, look at that.
Felicidades, congratulations. Seeing you all step into your talents, into your gifts, into your passion is exactly what education is all about. So thank you all for being you and for being comfortable being uncomfortable. That's going to do so much for you. It's going to open up your internal barriers, and just it opens up doors and into a new world every single day. So thank you all for what you do, and thank you for representing the Raiders, right? Thank you for representing the Raiders. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to do pictures. Yay. I think they usually do it here. All right.
With that, it brings us to our association reports. We have our CSEA report. Well, sorry, everything got moved around on our agenda, and I thought that was typically third. Is that typically first before? Okay. Look at my agenda that I was reading. Okay. I was not trying to slight you. All right, we have our student board member report right now with Anna Maxwell. We're so glad you're here from Washington Middle College. Thank you for being here.
Testing. All right. Hello and good evening. As mentioned, my name is Anna Maxwell, and I'm a student representative from Washington Middle College High School, here to present the occurring activities that have been happening in schools within our district. Next slide, please. At Bridgeway Island Elementary, they celebrated Read Across America Week with theme days, a door decorating contest, and an outdoor readathon in the quad. They also had the Crocker Art Arc Museum visit to encourage learning of North American artists, especially those with roots in Sacramento. Next slide. At Riverbank Elementary, they also celebrated Read Across America with their own name of Read Across Riverbank, along with an Author's Day. They give a special thanks to community partners that went into the classrooms to read to the students themselves. Along with that, the cafeteria and special ed staff created a communication system allowing for nonverbal students to order meals. Next slide. At Southport Elementary, Avid students took a field trip to UC Davis.
Third grade students used Lego spike kits that came with sensors, motors, and other coding devices, while the second graders made model spaceships. Next slide. At Stonegate Elementary, first graders had a walk to school day, also known as a Walk with Ruby Day, where they celebrated the historical figure of Ruby Bridges and her determination for education despite hardship. They also celebrated Read Across America Week, where they even had book characters dressed up in costume to interact and visit the students. Next slide. At Westmore Oaks Elementary, they celebrated Black History Month by having classes create trifolds that represented each classroom's interpretation of Black History Month. Next slide. At Westfield Elementary, they had Washington Unified School District friends read in the classroom for Read Across America. Next slide. At Virtual Academy, they had an in-person learning day. Depending on grade, many were supplied with activities such as games, arts, and academic projects. Next slide. At Evergreen Elementary Opportunity, attendance is at an all-time high. Students are volunteering and mentoring in YCOE's program for disabled students, along with neighbors from Fiery Ginger Farm. Next slide. At Washington Adult School, they are doing quarterly student awards, along with the community and resource fair on March 16th, 7 p.m. Next slide. And at Yolo High School, as you can see, they have a lot going on. They are planning school-wide projects for the 4th term and have a special thank you to multiple people for their monthly celebration. They also launched an esports program that is currently being met with very successful results. They are brainstorming a March Madness attendance and engagement campaign, and their assistant superintendent and director helped with decorating the campus by having students do gardening projects. And for their 3rd annual Barley Parish Memorial Handball Tournament, they already have winners named, as you can see on screen. Next slide. For our River City High School, they had a successful WASC visit. That is a weird abbreviation. And they celebrated International Women's Day. Next slide. And at my own wonderful school, Washington Middle College High School, a senior received the AXCA Reward. And teachers engaged in professional development at CATA. And our highlight, last but certainly not least, seniors are making posters around campus to rejoice in their college acceptance letters. Thank you for welcoming my presence here, then.
Thank you so much, and you are welcome. You may leave at any time, but you are welcome to stay, and you can give input on any pieces if you would like to. Oh. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm back to the correct order. Apologies. CSEA report, and we have our Vice President, Pagano Turner.
You did so good. Good evening, Superintendent Hildreth, Board President Kirby Gonzalez, and trustees, cabinet, and guests. Thank you for allowing me to provide this report as President Gandara is in a professional training. Community schools are coming to Washington Unified, as you know. 2, with the huge likelihood of 4 of our schools will be transformed to provide additional services and resources to our students, families, and community members next year. The implementation of these new community schools are proposed to begin in the fall and will undoubtedly affect thousands in our community. The United Way is leading the planning process for these schools, and we have recently learned that they are writing their services into our implementation grants. One service they have proposed is different learning opportunities through their United Way STARS program. On the United Way Community Schools website page, they list the following statement. Quote, Plans are also underway to offer extended learning opportunities via before and after school programs designed to reverse the learning losses of recent years. Activities will include field trips, team-oriented STEM and language challenges, as well as youth character and job skills development, end quote. The STARS program information states that STARS pairs volunteers with students to provide reading tutoring. We want to state publicly that the intent of the Community Schools Partnership is to provide a whole child, community-based approach to public education. I believe this is the intent. The intent of the Community Schools Partnership Program is not to enable local education agencies to contract out bargaining unit work, displace community supporting union jobs, and enrich third-party organizations. The volunteer work through the United Way STARS program is work customarily and routinely performed by CSEA bargaining unit members, paraeducators. As of today, CSEA labor relation representatives have provided written notice to the district regarding bargaining rights and effects regarding contracting out any unit work. CSEA has also requested to work with the district on newly created community schools coordinators positions. These positions, which have now been pulled from 2 public agendas, have not been discussed with CSEA. Over the last 2 weeks, we have not been given the opportunity to meet and discuss any potential impacts. The language in the original job description posted for the February 23rd board agenda has job duties that are in alignment with existing classified members. Currently, CSEA is going through the reclass process with some of our members. This process is ongoing but ties into our message here tonight about needing to collaborate and work together. Those in the process are working mothers. The majority are persons of color who speak multiple languages. Through professional communication, they ensure that our students and families have the information they need and deserve. These members, who many have dedicated their professional lives to the district, some for more than a decade, also complete highly technical business, fiscal-related work, translate legal documents, and support our community and district at public meetings such as this. With knowledge of all that, the district has thus far only proposed increasing their wages by cents, not even a whole dollar. This is an utter disappointment and, quite frankly, embarrassing. As we continue to support our members through the reclass process and hopefully begin to bargain with the district pertaining to the community schools partnerships, we sincerely hope the board will recognize what is happening in real time, that fairness and advancement for our members are actually equity work, and the district can show the WUSD promise is meaningful. Our commitments must be rooted in integrity and transparency. This will show that WUSD truly cares about all community members, including the many classified members who have chosen to work, live, and raise their families here. They are, in fact, a part of our community. I'm going to leave the podium with a quote from Cesar Chavez that has never left me. The fight, quote, "The fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It is always about people." Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we have our WSTA report and President Knapp.
Sometimes I come here and I'm so honored to work with the people that I work with. Ruth, you're an inspiration, and thank you for your advocacy. I want to start out tonight by acknowledging the River City Thespian Troupe. I don't know. WUSD, you're doing some things right. To see this group of aspiring creative individuals up here before you and see the inspiration and motivation in their eyes, it's super exciting. Most people don't know this about me, and now you're going to be able to dig up dirt. I am a failed child actor. The only thing I have a claim to fame is I was a video game star in the 90s. Failed at trying out for Free Willy, failed at trying out for Robin in Batman and Robin. So you might be able to see some pretty embarrassing clips out there. So if you want to dig up some dirt, you can. But I'm so excited to see this pathway for students. And again, thank you, WUSD, for embracing the whole child. Because we are not just math, science, English. If we are going to accept our children, we have to accept that they are beautiful, creative, artistic individuals that are not defined by traditional ideas of what education is. So I'm so honored to see them tonight, and thank you to our board for continuing to support them. I wanted to acknowledge a really productive meeting that WSTA had with WUSD regarding community schools. I was able to invite CTA Representative Memo Durgan and San Francisco Unified Community Schools Coordinator Leslie Wu. And we had a fantastic meeting with Superintendent Hildreth, Dr. Mack, and other community schools partners regarding what community schools look like. And I wanted to acknowledge that in this process, and I've talked to Dr. Hildreth about this, we are all rookies, and we are working to figure out how to make schools that reflect our communities and represent the underrepresented. And so there's a level of grace here that I think we all need to give each other as we figure out how to do that, because our system has not looked at things this way in the past. That being said, I wanted to remind the board and the cabinet that our community schools are based on 4 pillars, and not the least of which being a pillar that emphasizes a shared responsibility in partnership to facilitate and plan what our community schools look like. I will say that WSTA has communicated with WUSD that we do not feel that up to this point that partnership has been intact as we create these community schools. And we understand the sense of urgency. We have to acquire the funding for these community schools so that we can do that. But we want to remind the board and the cabinet, as we did in this meeting, that this pillar requires that we build these community schools collectively. And that means that when we present a plan in a grant, we have all actually signed off on the plan, not just given input, but signed off on the plan. And I think that in the meetings this week, we were able to communicate that. And I think that is going to happen moving forward. But that's really critical because we're trying to build trust with all community partners. And part of that is going to be that all community partners are not just part of the process of engaging in thinking about community schools, that we're also engaged in creating the plan and signing off on the plan. Part of that means that we need to see the budget. Community members, families, business partners, labor representatives, we need to understand what the plan is for where this money is going. And let me be honest about that. It's because of fiscal responsibility, but it's also because our labor partners need to understand where we can contribute. We already have a system in place. We have teachers and classified staff that have training and the ability to help implement this and possibly save money in how we do it. We have social workers, outreach specialists, teachers that can do some of this work. And we are concerned about farming the work out to third-party vendors. Listen, this is a community school, so community business partners need to be involved in this process. in our district that know how to do this already. And so we need to be really judicious. And when we're looking at the plan, I think both Ruth and myself and other partners are seeing some of this funding being sent out to third-party vendors. And we're like, wait a minute. We have people that are highly qualified. They're already dedicated to this school district. And we haven't even got to have a say about that yet. And so we have some concerns there. I want to express that I've had a change of heart personally, and I'm still grappling with this. I was really honored that the board and the superintendent decided to pull back on the community schools coordinator job posting a week ago after receiving information. Actually, Leslie Wu, who's the community schools coordinator in San Francisco Unified, came to us, and she let us know that in San Francisco, their community schools position is a classified position. And coming from my position of bias and privilege, when I heard about this position in the first place, I was like, well, yeah, you know, we're building a school, so it should definitely be a certificated position because we have some knowledge about, you know, standards and the curriculum. But I think that one of the things we always have to do when we're representing students is reflect within our hearts. And I recognized in hearing Leslie Wu that educators are not the only part of our community. And we have amazing classified staff who understand and have embedded knowledge because they've lived in the community for years. And we cannot isolate our classified staff from being eligible for these positions because they have knowledge and outreach that some of us can't have. So I'm not saying that the position shouldn't go to a certificated staff member. I'm saying it should be open to anybody from any place within our community. And if we're going to really build community, we have to recognize all of our community and their capabilities. I want to acknowledge and thank Sarah Kirby Gonzalez and Virginia Coffey for acknowledging and listening to my last presentation and reaching out and being able to communicate. I'm looking for it. I've had really good communications with Jackie Wong in the past, and I'm looking to continue that this year. I'm looking to meet with Mr. Alvarez. He reached out to me, and we have kind of a plan moving forward so that we can continue to communicate. And Mr. Pizzotti, thank you for always being available for me. I'm committed and take responsibility for my part in lack of communication, and I'm excited about the opportunity to move forward. I was able to send my vice president to the Yolo County Office of Education meeting last week. He was excited about what he heard. Mr. Malik was also concerned. He sensed kind of a lack of coordination between city and school board resources. And he expressed a clear disparity and disconnection between Yolo County Office of Education, WUSD, and Community Services, and he expressed that he's hoping that we can increase that communication moving forward. On another note, I've expressed to Human Resources, and then this week I've talked to Business Services. I talked to our wonderful Monique Stovall about the possibility of doing an analysis of an early retirement incentive. Obviously, I don't know if this is something that would benefit our students and the budget in WUSD, but I think it's time that we look at it. I will tell you in my analysis, I've looked, and we have an awful lot of my members who have taught for 30 years or more and are all the way to the right in the groupings in the salary schedule. I have a lot of members that are ready to retire and just kind of would like a little help to kind of push them in that direction. And I think there's a possibility that it's fiscally mutually beneficial for WUSD. But obviously, if it's not, that's not something we would push, but we would like to look at it and see if it's something that would be mutually beneficial. And then the last thing is I wanted to acknowledge tonight in public comment, you're going to have a comment from a parent of an SDC preschool student. Her name is Priya Ganapathy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. On several occasions this year, I've talked about SD preschool and making sure that we are meeting the needs of those students and making sure that we have paras and resources that are available. This parent reached out to me and said she wanted to express from a parent's perspective what it means to have services met for her child. And I hope you listen. Let me take that. I want to step back. I know you will listen and hear what she has to say. It's very lovely to see you all tonight. And thank you for listening. Praise WUSD.
Okay, thank you. That does take us now to our public comment. So I am going to read the public comment disclaimer. As a reminder, at our regular board meeting held on February 9th, 2023, the board resolved that the written public comments received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be provided to the board, but not read into the record during the meeting. So we are all reading them prior to the meeting, committed to that. And they are in the record. Members of the public may address the board on topics of the board agenda during every meeting. In addition, during regular meetings, the public may also address any topic within the jurisdiction of the board. Please know that the board is listening to your comment, but by law cannot meaningfully respond in this forum to items not on the agenda. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it waives the item limit for an item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. The board respects the right of members of the public to speak regarding matters within its jurisdiction. However, please recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own child made during a public board meeting may be a violation of the student's right to privacy, and thus the speaker may be legally liable. If you reference a student's name other than your own student, you may be deemed out of order. Furthermore, it's important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be actionable civil defamation. Although the board may not prohibit such comments, board policy allows the public to lodge complaints against district employees, providing more opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. Okay, and that takes us to public comment. And our first public comment, and please correct me when you come up if it was incorrect pronunciation, but is Priya Ganapathy. I'm sorry, Priya, please. Okay. And you can lower the, you can also lower the podium. There's a little button to the side, just since it's a little high right now, if you'd like, if that's more comfortable. Okay. Thank you and welcome.
So I have 3 minutes, right? Good evening, respected board members, faculty members, and parents. I am Priya Ganapathy, and I am one of the WUSD parent representative for special education, along with Mrs. Deborah Abrahams. As a parent, I have seen wonderful changes in Isaiah since he started the special ed preschool at Elkhorn Village Elementary in fall 2022. There are about 60 children, including Isaiah, who are being taught by 3 amazing special ed preschool teachers. For several months at a stretch, we have heard about our special ed teachers working with just one or no para-educator in a given class. There are about 10 to 15 children in each class. This definitely puts a lot of pressure on our teachers who are working with high-needs children to provide a safe environment. Many challenges arise primarily during transferring these children back and forth from school buses and catering to their toilet training goals. Please keep in mind that each teacher has 2 sessions to teach each day. Teachers like Mrs. Deanne, voicing her concerns in the last board meeting for more space at Bridgeway Island, has motivated me to come along with Deborah and request the board members to provide us with a forum. In this forum, parent representatives can interact and inquire on the needs of special ed teachers and identify ways, along with Mrs. Salvo, Carla Salvo, and the 4 program specialists to meet these needs. This forum can commence at least once in a month, where we can see the progress made by the special ed team on the grievances put forth by the special ed teachers. Having an open discussion will allow us to see the availability of special ed funding and their allocation to remove the hurdles our teachers are facing. We as parents want our teachers to have the resources so that they can help our students exit their IEPs faster and move on to a least restrictive environment. If there is a deficit in funding, we can request Yolo County to assist us with identifying more funding sources at our CAC meeting. We would like our esteemed board members to help us, along with WUSD personnel, to take concrete steps regarding our pitch suggestions before end of the school year. The sooner we act, the sooner we can provide resources to our teachers who are already facing an immense amount of burnout. These are hard-to-fill positions, and we truly want passionate and talented teachers to stay with WUSD for as long as possible to support our kids' education and overall growth. We believe together as a community with consistent and concerted efforts, we can make WUSD the best school district for special ed in the state of California. I would like to conclude my talk once again by thanking board members for their valuable time, Mr. Knapp for introducing me today, and all the special ed teachers and para-educators who have made a huge difference in our children's life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for emailing us your comments as well, and staff will follow up with you. Okay, Colin Malik.
Hey, y'all know me. Hi, board. Some positives. WASC came through River City. It was quite exciting. Dr. Hildreth was there the other day. Very high praise. Big shout out to Brittany Billingsley and my leader at my side. I super appreciate her. A couple of things to note, some room for growth. Obviously, we always lead with that. Additional personnel, which I'm sure Dr. Hildreth has talked to you about. Additional personnel, including school support services, SEL as additional CSMs. Please listen to Dr. Hildreth when she asks for and asks and respectfully demands those reasons for CSMs as well as support personnel. Additionally, WASC pointed out the room for growth in EL. That's all I need to say. EL. Me too, Siri. I'll take my 5 seconds back, Siri. Thank you. EL, okay? I can't overstate it enough, whether it's Afghan, Ukraine, South or Central American, or just indigenous populations that are learning and trying to find a way to compartmentalize and make themselves compatible in our society. EL. Quick show of hands. How many of you saw Sorry, Wrong Number? Sorry, Wrong Number. Sorry, Wrong Number, the wonderful showcase that Mr. Hanks and his wonderful students came here and talked about. Not a single hand. That should be disturbing to you. It's tokenism. It's tokenism. To sit here and take pictures with them, you never went and saw their productions. You have a duty and obligation to VAPA, including the theater, and please continue to support the VAPA. VAPA is the glue that brings together English, math, science, and social science. As a social scientist, I can't emphasize enough how strong VAPA brings every other subject together. It's in the brain science. Please check it out. Yolo High School and conduct. There are concerns about administration, personnel, and administrative disciplinary matters at YOLO that need to be addressed. Why is the smallest site footprint as well as the smallest site amount of people having the largest percentage of discipline issues? That should be a concern. Thank you for the speakers at RCHS. That's awesome. Kobe Pizzotti and I have worked on that and talked about that for the last 3.5 years. I've got up here 4 times at minimum to try to talk about, and it has happened, and I'm super excited. Thank you, board. Finally, tonight, it was a pleasure to go to WICO and spend some time with Trustee Jackie Wong. We were there. We had some amazingly productive discussions about how to better complement Yolo County services, as well as Yolo County educational services, as well as services for people who are non-educationally based across the community, to link those, whether it's drug rehabilitation or access to adult education or library cards for people who are at poor, disadvantaged, or impoverished areas. The discussions that we had, thank you, Jackie, I appreciate that. Being there, those conversations were meaningful and fulfilling and hopefully very productive, along with Yolo County Office of Education. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. And that brings us to our final public comment. If anyone else wants to leave a public comment, there is still time if you go and fill out a public comment card, but we have Maria Garcia.
Yo. Sí, aquí me quedo tomando las notas y luego de aquí lo leo. Sí. Oh. Te voy a empezar los 3 minutos.
Hola, buenas tardes. Me llamaron y me dijeron que no se entendió el mensaje del día 23 de febrero del 2023 y aquí estamos para repetirlo. Buenas tardes, venimos representando el Comité de Padres. Los temas son la seguridad y los clubs, un tema delicado y sin ofender y con respeto a todas las personas. Cuando nos referimos a la seguridad, nos referimos a la supervisión directa de nuestros niños en las escuelas, no a que los mantengan seguros de sus propios padres. Supervisión directa de los niños dentro de la cafetería, gimnasio, playground y periodos de cambio de clases. Muchos de los comportamientos de los niños es el resultado de la falta de personal, maestros, sustitutos de maestros capacitados que puedan ayudar a resolver ese comportamiento. Necesitamos más maestros, sustitutos de maestros, mentores, tutores en persona, Campus Aid, Yard Duties y sustitutos de Campus Aid y Yard Duties, capacitados y bien pagados, con buenas horas de trabajo. Necesitan invertir en nuestros niños en cuidado directo. Sobre el tema de los clubes de alianza de género y sexualidad, nos preguntamos por qué no lo han notificado a las familias sobre los clubes que se están formando dentro de nuestras escuelas con nuestros niños. Clubes de alianza de género y sexualidad dentro de los campos de las escuelas sin notificar a los padres, sin un permiso de autorización para un menor de edad. ¿No se dan cuenta que están sobrepasando el punto que representa la familia? Al esconder lo que hacen, solo nos dejan saber que sí están conscientes de lo que están haciendo con nuestros niños. Si lo esconden, es porque saben que los padres no están de acuerdo con lo que están haciendo. Sí, señores, ahora las escuelas están enseñando a nuestros niños a mentir y a ocultar a sus padres lo que están aprendiendo dentro de las escuelas. En las escuelas se deben de dedicar a enseñar a leer, a escribir, matemáticas, inglés, historia, geografía, ciencia, lenguas extranjeras, química, física, biología, etc. Y reforzar lo que el niño aprende en casa. En casa es donde los niños aprenden a decir buenos días, por favor, lo siento, discúlpame, me equivoqué. También en casa aprenden a ser honestos, ser puntuales, no insultar, a respetar la higiene personal, no tomar lo que no es tuyo, organizar, respetar reglas y costumbres y sobre todo amar a Dios. Y con todo lo que aprenden en casa se respeta al individuo, se respeta la vida, la libertad y la propiedad de todos. Sí, señores y señoras, con toda esta ideología están enfermando a nuestros niños pidiendo más dinero para la salud mental después de que los están enfermando. Ya basta. Nosotros los padres exigimos respeto a las familias y a la niñez. Desde este momento los hacemos responsables a todos y cada una persona que trabajan para el distrito de Washington Unified School y a los representantes del School Board y de todo lo que les pase a nuestros niños dentro de las escuelas. Nuestros niños no son
I'm
para
sorry,
experimentos sociales
your
ni de
time is
ningún
up.
tipo. Gracias por su tiempo.
They called me stating the message received on February 23rd, 2023 was not understood, so we are here to repeat it. Good afternoon. We come representing a committee of parents. The themes are the security and the clubs, a sensitive topic and without offending and with respect to all the people. When we mean security, we mean the direct supervision of our children in the schools, not to keep safe from their own parents. Supervision directly of the children inside of the cafeteria, gym, playground, in periods of change of classes. Many of the misbehaviors of the children are the result of the lack of personnel, teachers, substitute teachers, and a lack of empowerment so they can help solve that behavior. We need more teachers, substitute teachers, mentors, tutors in person, campus aides, yard duty, and substitutes of campus aides and well-trained yard duty that are well paid with good hours of work. You need to invest in our children and in direct care. About the topic of the Clubs of Alliance of Gender and Sexuality, we ask ourselves, why have the families not been notified about the clubs that are forming in our schools with our children? Clubs of Alliance of Gender and Sexuality inside the campuses of the schools without notifying the parents, without a permit of authorization for underage children. Are you unaware that you are overstepping the structure that represents the family? By hiding what you are doing, it tells us that you do know what you are doing with our children. If you are hiding it, it is because you do know that the parents do not agree with what you are doing. Yes, gentlemen, today you are teaching our children to lie and hide from their parents what they are learning in the schools. In the schools, you must teach them to read, write, mathematics, English and history, geography, science, foreign languages, chemistry, physical education, biology, and reinforce what the child learns at home. It's in the home where children learn to say, good morning, please, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Also at home, they learn honesty, to be punctual, to not offend, respect, personal hygiene, not to take what is not yours, organization, respect, rules, and traditions, and overall, to love God. With everything that is learned at home, you respect the individual, respect life, freedom, and property. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, with all of this ideology, you are damaging our children and asking for more money for their mental health after you have been the cause of their illnesses. Enough. We, the parents, demand respect for the family and for the children. From this point forward, to each individual who works for Washington Unified School District and to the representatives of the school board, you are responsible for everything that happens to our children inside of the schools. Our children are not for your social experiment or any type of experiment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know I want to just say that on our agenda on the very top, I want to call out number 3, which is ensuring that all students, staff, and families are valued, accepted, and supported through embracing and celebrating their individual uniqueness. And I know that our staff has and will again follow up on what our clubs are in those spaces that we have created. Thank you. Okay, thank you for giving of your time tonight. And that now takes us on to our information discussion items. We have our 2023-2024 Home to School Transportation Plan, and that is with our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Monique Stovall.
Good evening. This evening, I am joined with our Transportation Supervisor, Angelina Valencia, to present to you the 23-24 Transportation Plan. A little background on this, and Angelina will go into it a little bit more. School districts in California are receiving additional funding for transportation, and this is historic. We used to receive about $400,000 for transportation services, period. And now we'll be reimbursed for transportation services, which brings our ability to support schools and support students to a much higher level. This evening is an information and discussion item. and we will be coming back to you at the next board meeting asking for action on the.
Okay, so hello, everyone. Good evening. Like Monique said, tonight I will be presenting the 2023-24 Home to School Transportation Plan. Next slide, please. So the purpose of tonight's presentation is to present the Washington Unified School District's 2023-2024 Home to School Transportation Plan for discussion. Next slide, please. So, the alignment to the strategic plan. It supports the whole child, healthy, safe, challenged, and supported. It ensures that all students are provided access and opportunity to resources and relevant educational and life experiences for individual success. And it aligns with Pillar D, safe climate and equitable access for all. Next slide. So this slide here goes over the strategic priorities and key actions for Pillar D. This transportation plan will ensure that every student, every school is safe and welcoming for students, staff, and families with uniform standards of conduct that are fair to all and discipline practices that are equitably enforced, restorative, and eliminate disproportionalities by student group. And there's other specific key actions there. But we're going to go to the next slide, please. So now we will review the transportation's requirements and funding. Next slide. So Education Code 39800 to 39860 requires home to school transportation for students when the student has an individual education plan, which is known as an IEP, or a 504 accommodation plan that requires transportation, or the student is classified as McKinney-Vento, which is the Homeless Program Act, in which transportation we currently support both of these here in our district. Home to school transportation is not required for other students per the education code, but we currently transport other students based on the current board policy. Next slide. Home to school transportation funding. The 2022-2023 enacted state budget increased funding for home to school transportation, and districts will receive reimbursement of up to 60% of the prior year's expenses. The governing board must approve a home to school transportation plan by April 1st to receive the reimbursement, and this must be done annually. Next slide, please. So, our transportation plan requirement. The transportation plan must include priority for planned services for students in grades transitional kindergarten through 6th and low-income students. It must describe how transportation will be accessible to students with disabilities and homeless youth. It must describe how unduplicated students may access free transportation. And it must develop in consultation with staff, regional transit authorities, local air pollution control districts, air quality management district, parents, and students. Next slide. So, with all of that, let's go over our current transportation plan. Next slide, please. Currently, our transportation department has 24 bus driver positions, in which only 19 of those positions are filled due to the bus driver shortage. We have 29 buses and 23 routes that serves all classroom-based schools here in our district. We transport roughly about 1,250 students daily. And last school year, our buses drove 257,000 miles, 557 miles. Big number. Next slide, please. So, our board policy provides free transportation for the following students who live within the boundaries of our schools and are attending. And down below in that chart, you'll see what our current walking distances are. Kindergarten through 6th grade is within 3/4 of a mile. So if they live outside of that, they are provided transportation for free. Students who 7th and 8th graders is 1.5 miles. And then our 9th through 12th grade students are 2 miles. Transportation is also offered when students are overflowed from their home school That means if there's no room at their home school and they must attend a different school, transportation is provided. Next slide, please. Free transportation is offered to students who reside within the district boundaries, attend a Washington Unified School District school, and transportation is designated in their IEP or 504 accommodation plan. Although we currently do not transport transitional kindergartners, we are exploring options to offer transportation to students in transitional kindergarten while complying with safety regulations. I think people don't realize that under school-age children, meaning under 5 years old, they require a car seat on the school bus. And so in order for us to provide transportation to these students, it's something we would have to maybe put together in our board policy so that transportation meets that before offering that service to them. Next slide, please. Alternative transportation options. So in addition to transportation through Washington Unified, students may take advantage of the Yolo County Transit Bus. They offer free bus rides for all youth ages 0 to 18 years old. Or they can utilize the Via West Sacramento, which also offers free or low-cost transportation. Next slide. Education partner feedback. Washington Unified School District staff, parents, and guardians, students, and community members were surveyed in English and Spanish. Regional transportation partners provided feedback through direct contact with each partner. And feedback was provided on the following topics per education code. Again, that's transportation for TK through 6th grade students, transportation for students with disabilities, free transportation for students who are unduplicated. Next slide, please. So here are our results. These are our survey respondents. There were 131 responses submitted. Most of the 131 responses came from a parent or guardian, but there were some students who gave their feedback as well as staff. Next slide. The schools represented in the survey feedback, it was nice to see that there was a little bit from every school. Bridgeway Island and Southport, this was their first school year receiving home to school transportation. So it was really nice to see they had a lot to say, because that tells us how we can move forward with those schools. And then we weren't surprised to see River City had submitted so much feedback, because they are the majority of the students that we support for home to school transportation here in our district. Next slide. So some of the highlights from the survey feedback were safety for parents, students, and staff, the proximity of the bus routes, and the desire to have more bus routes that are closer to students' homes, bullying and supervision, which was the supervision of students to prevent bullying as a concern, time students are in transit, respondents want to limit the time students are on the bus. And then the K through 6 and 7 through 8 transportation, parents would like to see the students on the same walking distance boundaries as the kindergarten to 6th graders. And I apologize, that should say K through 6 at the bottom of that. And then transportation for all students. Students, parents, and staff want transportation for all students, especially if the family does not have a vehicle. Next slide. I'll let Monique review the transportation plan.
As Angelina shared, we will be reimbursed up to 60% of our prior year expenses. At this time, we're estimating that will bring us about $1.3 million in revenue. You also see the 2021-22 LCFF transportation add-on. We only used to receive about 400 shared, but our expenses already far exceed our revenue. Our hope and our ask from you is that this additional revenue doesn't just cover our current expenses, that we can use it to enhance the services we provide to our student and be able to support our students and our families.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So let's talk next steps. Next slide, please. So our first step was to present this home to school transportation plan to the board for information and discussion here tonight. Our next step will be to request board approval for the 2023-24 home to school transportation plan on March 23rd of 2023. And then after that, we would like to review current policies in place and recommend revisions that align with current district needs as appropriate. So although, like Monique was saying, it's going to be nice to be able to be reimbursed more of what we're spending. And that's because, you know, we can maybe increase our driver's pay, right, to get those bodies here. We can maybe get more buses. We can come to the table and discuss how do we include all of these children and students who need to get home and school via transportation. We are currently short-staffed in our department, but I promise you we are working very hard to get our students to and from school safely and in a timely manner. And although we don't have a policy in place for some of our students, such as our newcomer center, I have been working with some other staff members here to find a way to make it work. You know, I try and work with them so that those students do have access to the school that's going to, you know, help them be successful. So having an opportunity to be reimbursed for some of that funding, it's going to allow us to hopefully do bigger things in our transportation department. Done.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
board.
First, I will ask for public comments, and then we'll go to board comments. And it does not look like we have any public comments.
There's one raised hand in the audience, Mr. Colin Mallard.
Oh.
Hi, public comment quickly on transportation. We do have a small population of sports, clubs, extracurriculars. Kobe and I, as well as other school board members as well, have talked about this frequently, is the use of small Econoline vans and also bringing on board the idea of making sure that teachers or support staff, as well as volunteers and CSEA members, are qualified to drive those smaller vans. It makes no sense financially to send a bus down to Fresno for 2 state wrestlers who have qualified on a bus just because of logistical concerns. That is a financial waste. Coach Stolpe and myself, as well as Athletic Director Dornan and Principal Billingsley, have all talked about this and kind of come to a coalescence of the fact that when you have smaller populations of students or clubs, situations where it's limited to less than a bus, a 40 Econoline or a 15-person van along with a certificated or classified person who has the ability to drive said van with the appropriate license is much more feasible and viable. I know there's some limitations when it comes to the CSEA contract in that language, but is a thing that I have been offering and considering to the district since I started here in 2010. And I would love to be able to take 2 vans full of wrestlers up to like Fort Bragg and do those things without wasting the district's money as well as the time of a bus driver to get us up there. It just makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board comments or questions? Trustee Vasati?
Yeah, I just have one quick question, and it may lead to a second. So are our students, our WSD students, are they allowed to ride to and from school or to school? And I guess, yeah, to and from school for free? Is that possible? Because you said, or for a small fee. So my question is, can any, elementary school student be placed on VIA to send to school, to an elementary school, and from anywhere in the district, not just from one side to the other?
So currently, Washington Unified School District, we provide a free transportation to all of our students that qualify. whether it be IEP, 504, the Homeless Act, or board policy. The Yolo County City Bus, they're also allowed to ride for free because they meet the guidelines of 0 to 18 years of age. Via West Sacramento, they do charge. And if you provide your income, I'm sure there's an income base that you have to meet, you can ride for a low cost.
Do you have now, so here comes the follow-up. Do you have an idea of what that cost is?
I do not. I can definitely look into that. I do know that their typical rate is $3.50, but I do not know what the low income rate would be, but I can definitely look into that.
Because that might be something for the 2x2 to try and expand via ridership throughout the entire district in places where we have time, meeting the needs that we would like, that we would certainly like.
That makes a lot of sense for like the newcomer center, since people are all over. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Any other comments? Any questions?
I'm going to piggyback off of that. I will tell you for VIA, if you are going to and from the Broderick Bright area, it is free. So all of our newcomers, wherever they're from, can go to the newcomer center that is located at Riverbank for free, regardless of income, having to put any of that in. You just need to get the app, pretty simple, put in their information, and book that. So just wanted to let you guys know, so you know.
Yeah, that's really great to know.
It's about the depth, like the area that's
Mhm.
being served. So.
And I was not at the table when the Newcomers Center was established and brought about, but I look forward to working with Stacy and her team to hopefully be able to provide that transportation to those students. As I learned recently, those students change annually. And so if it's something we can work together on to provide that transportation to those students, I'll definitely see if I can find a way to make that work for them, because I can only imagine how hard it is and how important it is for those students to learn so much in that year of opportunity.
And I will also piggyback and say that you can share the ride. So that van isn't just for one person. It can be for you, and because it's a minivan, so you can have up to 6 or 7, I believe.
Oh, great. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I looked into it.
Yeah, no, it looks like the Brighton Broderick just came online February 1st, so it's a fairly new neighborhood service for them because it's a grant. However, grants end, so it's probably something you want to continue at the 2x2 for sustainability. I know we talked to Dr. H about, let's just look at via where it actually goes. I was once told that it actually goes primarily to the high school. Like that's actually the largest kind of place. I mean, and somebody thought it was a rec center. No, it's actually during school times. So maybe we do an analysis with the city about those rates and whatnot. So just curious. So they would 0 to 8, are we with a parent? Okay, so that's the qualifier. So I know that that's Trustee Pizzotti's question.
Well, it's 0 to 18 years old. I would hope the younger ones are with a parent. But if you are of junior high, high school age, and you need to take that bus from A to B, you can do so for free.
But even you can put a 5-year-old in VIA?
I mean, I wouldn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
And it's that's for the Yolo County Transit Bus.
Oh, gotcha.
But I can definitely see.
Yeah, that's why I'm sorry I misunderstood the VIA piece of it.
I can definitely see like if they have rules in place.
Yeah, before
what,
we just
what
we should
exactly
probably
those are. Yeah.
I think it is, I know it's younger than Uber, but I believe it was like 10. We could visit that in the 2x2.
Yeah,
That's
just
a good
for
question.
clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know I was talking with the principal of Washington Middle College because they were using VIA so much, and she did say that lately they've been probably like we're affected too with shortages, that they have had some later times, and so then the kids can't always rely on it to get to class on time. So it also has to make sure that there's enough people there, but it's a good resource. I I have a couple of things. I love seeing, I did get to see one of our smaller school buses all loaded up with car seats. I get to regularly see all the bus drivers because we fill up gas at the same place. So not our electric bus drivers. There you have to see them in front, catch them in front of the school. And got a little tour of all the car seats and got to see how that worked, which was great. What would be interesting for us in the future when you come to us is seeing some of the, especially as you do the cost analysis, is seeing some of the savings maybe from having electric vehicles as we think about the gas costs that we have and seeing what that looks like. And I know that the grants have helped us put in the electric systems that we have, and they haven't been our own costs, which has been great. It would also be interesting for us at the next update, I think, to see maybe some of the numbers of who's riding. It's been wonderful to see your expansion. I know for my kids, for example, Bridgeway Island now has a bus, but my girls and I, we've been debating because them riding to school takes the same amount of time as if they walk to the bus. And so we said, well, just ride your bike. And they've been trying to say, well, we should do the bus because it's raining. So, well, by the time you walk to the bus, you're going to be soaking wet. So it would be interesting to know that particular stop. I question if there's a lot of people on that, so it would just be interesting to see for us. But I do know certainly Southport has, because they're so far, and especially Westfield. That's our other furthest one with West Capitol and having the Courtyard Village apartments. So I imagine those are high needed places.
Yes.
So it would be interesting to see some of the ridership, I think, for us.
Okay.
And then also in terms of the fleet, if you feel you have what you need, or the concept as well as the vans and buses. I know when I was looking at the bus, it was a little smaller. I said, well, this is great because you could use this for all sorts of things. And he was like, well, taking all these car seats out and putting all the car seats in is not as easy as you think. And so, do you think we have an adequate number, or that's a place that down the road we could grow to have more smaller vans? I know that they're used in some places, but they were paid for with a CTE grant. And so they're very specific maybe to those programs, but and those are all mine. So thank you so much. We're so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
And it's good stuff.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, and then that takes us to the Washington Unified School District Wellness Center update, and that is with our Director of Compliance and Accountability, Stephanie Grote. No, it is not. Oh, yes, it is. You're there too. Okay, good. I got all mixed up. Yes, it is.
Perhaps this introduction is not
Thank
needed,
you.
but thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez, respected trustees, Dr. Hildreth. And as you know, our Director of Compliance and Accountability, Ms. Stephanie Grote, is here to speak to you to provide an informational update about our planned wellness center.
Thank you. This is exciting this evening. Thank you for this opportunity. This is a little bit of a follow-up in regard to information that we provided with the LCAP. So, next slide. The purpose of this evening is really to review the history and the background of the wellness centers. Talk about the process. We went through a unique process that really involved a large number of groups of people. We wanted to make sure that we had that input. So I do have a co-presenter who's going to share the process at one of our sites. And we want to give that example of what that will look like. Next slide. So when we look at our wellness centers, the alignment to our strategic plan with looking at our whole child, the safety, health, healthy, challenged, and supported, as well as making sure we have an opportunity and achievement for every child. When we look at our equity principles, ensuring that all students are provided with access and opportunity to resources and relevant educational and life experiences for individual success. And we're going to talk a lot about that individual success and that support. And then pillar D, if we go to the next slide, it's right there. It's called out, looking at our wellness centers and looking at each school and how it supports the uniqueness of each school site, that community, the schools as a whole. So going back to the history, our history and our background for our wellness centers just really helps to illustrate and showcase the thoughtfulness of this implementation. You may recognize this slide. It's actually just a snippet out of a presentation that we gave 2 board meetings ago. This information is pulled directly out of our LCAP, that 115-page document. It is right there within our action 2.15. The implementing section, that was part where we talked about last time with all of the actions of where we were with those individual actions. The EdSource quote does illustrate that when we make these plans, we really do go to that research to make sure we may have an idea, but we want to know that it's rooted in great practice and research. So that is our research in regard to why we want to look at wellness centers. It does tie directly to our goal 2, our culture and climate. Next. This is the timeline. This is not something that happened overnight, although I think you might hear somebody say they wish it happens overnight because we get so excited about these things. But we started our timeline back in 2021 is really when it came up and we started doing that heavy research in regard to what a wellness center could be. It was identified by the community and staff through a variety of engagement meetings. So we were having listening meetings with our strategic plan, as well as our LCAP through our, I'm going to use an acronym, our ELPAC, which is our EL Parent Advisory Committee. And it really came from a variety of places, including our staff. Back in June, we approved our LCAP. And then in June and September, we began these wellness center visits. And it went a little, it was kind of this ground roots of, hey, we want to go look at a wellness center. Do you know of a wellness center? And it became something where everyone started going, oh, I know one. Oh, let's go here. And so we reached out to some of our neighboring districts, kind of neighboring, I would say, Yuba City, Roseville, and then Woodland. And we did a variety of visits where we actually had an opportunity to sit in some of the different areas to view what they look like, and also to have that conversation about the wellness center, not just being a room, but how you use it and what does that look like. So we had those conversations. We did multiple visits. I kept calling people. And then we started looking at a wellness committee. Lots of conversations were happening, and we wanted to bring everyone together to really have the conversation about what is a wellness center. We all had different ideas and wanted to solidify that. We continued to look at additional information from our site administrators, district administrators, staff. Everyone had different information. We completed a resolution with a company called Meteor that was back on a board agenda. And then we began the design phase, which is the best phase, I will. So we're going to go to the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about our wellness committee. You saw on the timeline where that began. This slide is really, it's really incomplete in the fact that this was the original wellness committee, but this isn't everyone who had the input into what this would look like. Because we were meeting here, but then we were also meeting during our ed leadership meetings to gain information of what it would look like on the site. Some of the members you can see are no longer with the district, so then we actually had other meetings, brought other people in. We continued to have a meeting even, was it Tuesday? It was this week. Tuesday, where we had new members where it was like, oh, you're new to the position. Let's meet so that we can bring you along the process, especially with our facilities group. Next. So during our committee meetings, we started with a district discovery meeting, and we really looked at building that common understanding of a wellness center, the sharing of information. We had people who had different information that we wanted to come together and share, as well as we wanted to have an understanding of what it meant for our district and how we could implement that. If you've ever been on a committee with me, you know that I like dots. I like getting that information. So they actually did an activity that I did not suggest. They came up with it where we were putting dots on paper of what do we want. If we had one priority, really what did we want? That flexible seating, soft seating. So we went around and did an activity that helped us come to what we wanted. Our next slide. We also really had an opportunity to build what a wellness center is, as well as what it is not. We wanted to have those conversations, knowing that this may change as we go through and implement and learn more, but we wanted to have a place where we could start and say, this is what we want in our wellness center, and this is what we don't want it to be. So that is just actually a brainstorm of that. What's interesting is we actually met with our administrators during a leadership meeting and did the exact same activities, the two activities, and the priorities were exactly the same. So kudos to the team and our district for being aligned. Next slide. From that, we came up with our site readiness guidelines. We wanted to talk about implementation. And we wanted to talk about what is the best way to move forward with these wellness centers. And so we wanted to make sure we were successful. We didn't want it to be something that we did and then moved on. We wanted to be thoughtful. We had conversations and different input in regard to, do we want just one? And during the committee meetings, it was like, well, I want one. Well, I want one too. Well, my site's ready. And so to make sure that we could go through that full implementation cycle, we came up with a readiness guideline. So what was decided was that after the discussion was that sites who met this readiness guidelines were then able to go to the next phase. So this is the very exciting part of the presentation. Next slide. As the design process. So each of our sites are in a little bit different spot. You've walked the campuses, you've seen the different different school setups. Sites had to identify a room with the help of the facilities. And so they do look a little bit different, and they're each individually are working on the design process. I have tonight with me Ruth, who is part of the Bridgeway Island design team, and she's going to talk about what it looked like at Bridgeway as an example.
Thank you, Director Grote. And may I just say, it's been an honor to be on this committee. You have over-communicated, and that's what we really appreciate and value, and have listened. So thank you. It makes a huge difference. Next slide, please. So Bridgeway Island, we want this. We need this. Together with admin, our approach was collaborative from the beginning. We knew what we wanted. We actually visualized it and drew it out on paper. And everything has come true. So we started with a common and shared belief that our center will be a safe space dedicated for students to access resources, engage in wellness materials and lessons, and learn, focus, and enact our Thrive principles, which are on the bottom. Next slide. With that shared belief about the purpose of the center, we actively plan the space. Actually, all of the spaces within the center are planned. We toured other districts. We consistently met with the logistical and field design experts, which were amazing, and remained committed to the project goals as a unified team. We also engaged with parents, guardians, other staff members, listened, incorporated their feedback into our design. We also collaborated with the PTO to provide parent education and resources for this space as well. And since this project is a high priority for us, we have had a strong focus on completing it. We really want and need this welcoming space for our students and Bridgeway Island community. And what I want to stress is that we have been doing the work that will be done in this space already, but we have been doing it in the cafeteria. We've been doing it in the conference room. We've been doing it in small offices, in hallways, on picnic tables outside. We've been trying desperately to have welcoming spaces without welcoming spaces. So thank you for this work. It is going to not only continue what we are doing at Bridgeway Island, but it is going to be utilized, scheduled. It's going to be different groups at different times, all throughout the day in a professional, safe space that is inviting to students, parents, families, staff, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. That's a hard thing to say, the next slide. As we look at, again, just the example of Bridgeway Island, this is a snippet of what the room could look like. They really take the time to listen to the different groups. I want to talk about more. It's not just a room that looks great. It really is that place to bring small groups together. You can do community activities, community areas where there's large group, there's small group. Just about all of the items in the room are movable so that you can adjust. We talked about it being a scheduled area, so there could be partnerships or groups from some of our community organizations that come in to work with the students during the day. And then, of course, this is a space on our school campus in the evening for other purposes as well. There are workspaces. It does allow for students to use that area, from our youngest students to our oldest students as well, and then adults. Next slide. So really our next steps is I put in our little implementation cycle. This is an item that was approved through the LCAP. We want to continue to work with our school sites to finalize their designs, looking at all sites. That is the intent, is to have the wellness centers in all sites. But as we're moving and transitioning some schools, it would look different as Westfield in the modernization. And then continue with the purchasing and the installation of all the room materials. And then we always want to go back and evaluate and make changes as we have more information. And we continue to bring that information back to the board. It is an really the intent of the presentation this evening was to provide you with that additional information in regard to that specific action.
Okay, thank you. We'll ask for any public comments, which it does not look like we have any. Okay, you can come on up. And while you're coming up, Mr. Knupp, I'll say that Dr. Ann Zeman, I'm sorry that I did not introduce you, but she is our interim assistant superintendent of education services.
Hi again, Ann. Just a couple comments. First of all, as I've been railing on restorative spaces, I'm super excited to see this come to fruition. It's kind of like the answer to the change in the LCAP dashboard. Like many years too late, but never too late, because it's what our students need. Just a couple of notes. Just as we're looking to work collaboratively, I'd like to notice that in the working group, I didn't see anybody particularly from labor, and I think that's important when we're making these working groups, to consider that labor needs to be a part of the process. The last thing is I just want to ensure that these restorative spaces are not all scheduled, because for restorative practices to work, you have to have a place to send a student when they need a place, not just a scheduled time. So a teacher can say, you know, have response cards and a student says, hey, I need help right now. And you can send them there when they need help, as opposed to sending them there after they've had trouble. Because when you send someone somewhere after they have trouble, they're getting the attention they're seeking for their behavior, as opposed to getting the attention they're seeking when they're seeking it, and they're learning to be metacognitive and get the help they need when they need it, as opposed to acting out for help. So we need to absolutely make sure these spaces are accessible, not just by appointment and group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any now board comments? Okay, Trustee Venegas.
All right, thank you for that presentation. So in looking at like committee members and input from, I'm glad you guys did all that work. to include as many voices as possible. Was there any student input
Yeah,
at any
that's
point?
the-
I don't know if I missed it or.
I'm back on. Okay, thank you. So we did have conversations with the students, not as part of this committee. And as we look at the wellness centers at the high schools, they are part of those meetings at the site level. So the committee was here, and the design level is where that the student voice is very valuable. Yeah.
And I would also like to see maybe those middle school students, just because middle school is middle school. And the more that they can be involved in the vision and their experience, I think it's just a overall better process.
Thank you.
Another question was, is there any ideas for what do these centers become after school? Like once after school hits, what's kind of happening?
Yeah, so they are community spaces, and so they could work within our partnerships with our agencies that use our sites after school. So we've had conversations about how that meshes with our community center, and they are accessible for those times, for families, for the community, for school events. Yeah.
And last, not really a question, but maybe just something to think about. I visited some of the wellness centers in other parts of the state, and something that high schools and middle schools were very, what they implemented was, I saw two of them do it, and they have almost like a director in place to kind of direct and decide. For example, if a teacher sends a student out for whatever reason, instead of going directly to the principal's office or to the wellness center or to detention, whatever it may be, they meet with the director, and then that person kind of facilitates where the best place for the student at the time. Because many times students will choose to go to the wellness center versus have to go to the wellness center. And it starts to kind of feel, and I saw it in real time, it starts to kind of feel like another office, right? Another space where I know that's not the intent. So just maybe something, if we already have that, we're already thinking about that, that's great. But I've seen where there's just that director, that person that meets with the student prior to them walking into the wellness center, because it becomes more of the student's choice to go. And it keeps that authenticity of what it's meant to be.
Thank you. Yeah. And I want to be fully transparent. When we look at the slide, the wellness center is not an office for somebody, so there currently is not somebody in that room to receive students if they were just to come. So for the safety reason of just the student coming, that is not the intent of the wellness. But that is why we have the scheduled time. So, and I will be honest, it may look different at the high school because of the rooms and the location and the staffing, but specific to the TK8 sites, there is not somebody in the room for students just to come in.
And I think we'll also follow up with that, because
Yeah.
I know the concern is we also don't have students in rooms where there's no supervision.
Where there's
So
gonna be a
Well,
there
no,
will be a
yeah.
process, and we can add that information.
Right. Ibasadi?
Yeah. So this is more of a statement. For me, I will never question the why, the who, the what. This is something that's desperately needed. My question is always going to be the where. And at Bridgeway, I know we're very impacted. And if you found a place, great. But we're also trying to do TK at our school sites too, which for some of our existing school sites where we are currently impacted, that could be a real struggle. So I'm hopeful that if at some point down the line when we get more updates, the where is answered, that would be great.
Yes, thank you. And the part of the readiness is identifying that location, and that is why we have our facilities on
committee is. Okay, other comments? Yes, did you?
Yeah, just to kind of go back to the conversation about, and I know it's early and we're thinking, but just again, wellness, I've seen it where it works and it's more of a choice. Yes, I understand scheduling, right? Obviously, we don't want to have students there without adult supervision, but also thinking about, I've seen a school in Colton, California. They moved their counselor into that space, and not adding more work to our counselors, but just being the adult, and it becomes like almost like a open gym kind of feel, like an open wellness center from this time to this time, because then students are having the conversation with the teacher where it's like, can I step out for 5 minutes? They don't have to use the can I go to the bathroom excuse, right, to get a breather. Now they can actually say, can I just go to a wellness center to, and they check in, and it's a nice little open door policy. But just something to, again, because wellness, when I've seen it work, is wellness is a choice. It's not and it's a student choice. It's not based on adult availability, because then we're adding another barrier, right, to their access to their experience of wellness. So just something that I really want to double down on is really thinking about wellness being a choice for the students, and giving it that it's their space. So yes.
Thank you. Okay, Vice President Wong?
No, we were just chatting about that wellness, this concept of, wellness doesn't happen on appointments.
No.
Right, when somebody needs a mental health, behavioral health issues, needing a time. So this idea of warm body handoffs or whatever it is, I think it's really warranted, right? Whether or not at Southport, our outreach workers in there with our social worker, you could figure some stuff out, right? I'm sure that's also the same at every other campus. I would love to see the readiness of each campus, because from an equity lens, I just want to make sure like we have a big picture of the entire district to see like who's ready, who's not ready, and how do you measure that, right? So that, are we rolling out at the same time? Like, what's the sequencing, right? Because we don't want to say, oh, Bridgeway's doing this, but you over here, West. So I just want to kind of from that equity lens, would really love that snapshot of the entire.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was going through the same piece because I could tell you were very intentional to say it's not an office. It's not an office. I heard you being clear in that. And I kept thinking about River City, where I walk in and there is a receptionist to welcome you. And then there is our, I don't remember if his title has changed or not, but it is our, I believe, outreach specialist is right there with a smile on his face, hi, Sarah. And so, our kids do have that all the time, and I can see that you were intentional to do that differently, but having us understand the why, or why wouldn't you want to have somebody who's stationed there would be helpful to know, and if not right now, then in the future to better understand it.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that we want to continue to look at. But do you want to talk about the committee's conversation?
Sure. So part of the scheduling will be drop-in hours. So that's something that we have to schedule, because we know that, especially like lunch and recess, we want to maximize students staying in the classroom as much as possible. That's why we're focusing right now for especially tier 1, some tier 2 students, calming corners in the classroom. So they're able to take breaks if needed by choice. But as far as drop-in all day, that would require additional staffing, because we wouldn't be able to do our primary duties, which obviously makes sense. So we did think about having drop-ins, and something that students can know that it would be available to them at certain times, and not that that would fit every need, but that would definitely be something that would be an option. As far as having a social worker in there, they're doing one-on-ones. So that would be a privacy issue, that we wouldn't want students coming in when they're doing one-on-ones. So as far as space goes, I mean, if we had unlimited offices, it would be, I think, probably an easier decision. But as far as the scheduling, I want to make it very clear that the schedule will include options to drop in. Everybody has said that, and every site is unique and different in their space. But as far as our needs at Bridgeway, We do have a portable classroom, a modular classroom that is not being used this year for teaching. So that is the space that will be designated for it, P1. And
Isn't it being used? Well, different conversation.
teaching.
We've been hearing a lot of things from there, so different conversation, sorry.
But that is the space. It is dedicated, and that's where the plan on the presentation, that's the furniture that actually fits that room. They measured that specific space.
And then I think when I looked at, and I appreciate all this work, it's exciting, lots of good things coming. I think about like when I was at Yolo High School and Ellie said, come on in, and I jumped on the beanbag to talk, just, to just, immediately the day kind of came off my shoulders as she and I talked about student need. And so I think this will be nice for everyone there. But on your committee, there were not teachers, and that's who I've heard the most from as I go around, teachers saying, well, who's going to be the staff, or how is this going to work, or how? So making sure that we're really communicating with the teachers, because I think they're seeing it as, I have a student right now in need, how will this work into my students as well? So just so you know, those are the things that we're hearing a lot of questions about, and making sure that they're in this. So thank you. No other? Thank you. Great discussion. Exciting. Okay, that now takes us to the consent agenda. Are there any changes? Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you to Trustee Pizzotti.
I second.
And seconded by Clerk Coffey. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I too vote aye. Thank you. And now we're going to our action items. We have the approval of the certificated variable term waiver, and that is our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Kamaljeet Panu.
Good evening, trustees. We're asking the board to approve a variable term waiver for one of our current teachers that was hired as pending her CTC review of her application. The individual did complete all the requirements for a credential program, but needed to fulfill some subject matter competency through a CTC audit. So we're asking that we approve the variable term waiver, which will allow her to complete those units. Feedback from her principal has been nothing but positive and glowing, that she is being successful in the classroom. So we just are asking that we have this variable term waiver in place so she can remain in the classroom.
Okay, any questions? Okay, do I have a motion?
I move.
There's no public comments. Thank you.
I move.
All right, so moved by Trustee Venegas.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Pizzotti. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I too vote aye. And now we're at the adoption of resolution number 222358, certification of signatures. Our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Monique Stope.
Thank you. This item identifies exactly whom within the district is authorized to sign on our behalf for financial documents. We are bringing it to you in this time of year because we do have a change in our executive cabinet, as we have a vacancy for our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. So we wanted to make sure that we updated the signatory.
And there are no public comments that I see. Okay, no public comments. Any board comments? Okay, any motion? Okay, Vice President Wong.
Second.
And Clerk Coffey seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you. And that takes us now to the updates of trustees for the board committees for 2023. And specifically, we were looking at this at the county 2x2. We were made aware that Clerk Coffey has been on a lot of committees, and we said that committee sign up, that's a lot of committees. And so she has now agreed that that is a lot of committees. We have there's a meeting coming up for the 2x2, and I had said that I would be happy to do that. Trustee Pizzotti, you are the alternate on that. If you want to be on that, I'm happy to do it. And currently, Vice President Wong is also on the county 2x2. That's with Yolo County. With doing it or being the alternate, which would you?
I'll be the alternate, yeah, but if you want me.
Okay, which would you prefer?
Take it.
Fine with whatever.
Take it
Is
off
there
mine.
somebody that wants to be on it?
You do, because you said you're
I
alternate.
said I'll be fine.
Okay.
I said I'm fine. Why are you
So-
fighting me with me?
All right, I was making sure, well, at first I said, I'm happy, I'll take it on, and then I realized that you had been the alternate, and so then I was like, okay, so I will be the alternate. Nope, you're good. We're all on a lot of committees. I think I've had meetings every single night this week, so, as have all of us, so let's put Trustee Pizzotti, I will be the alternate.
And I thank you all so very much for acknowledging that I have more than I should have probably.
Yes, and you still have.
And then you added more.
There's still, yes, we've added a couple more.
So,
Okay.
sorry to interject, to confirm the county committee the YOLO County 2x2 committee members are Trustee Pizzotti, Vice President Wong, the alternate is President Kirby Gonzalez.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Will you make sure that,
And the second alternate is Clerk Coffee.
there you go.
Yay.
That's a lot of
Unless
people.
you want to hand it off. Al, yeah, Al, you want it?
Okay.
So Al wants a second alternate.
Perfect.
Unless you want. Nope, I'm good. I have,
All
you
right.
guys added 2 more.
Great. And then can we just make sure that, that Trustee Pizzotti gets that most recent communication? I think it just came out recently for the next meeting. So,
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Great. Good timing on that. We have some time. I think you were on it for years. Sometimes they just leave you on for a long time. Yeah. Okay, so now that takes us to the board and superintendent comments. Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez. Before I start, I just want to acknowledge that March is Women's History Month and give a very special shout out to incredibly talented women within WUSD, some of who are here tonight and most who are not, but do the work. So a huge thank you and shout out, and looking forward to all the school celebrations throughout the month. And I had some other remarks, but I feel the need to ensure our community that we are a safe space for all of our, that one of the things that I have been so proud to be in this district is the belief that all of our children have value. All of our families have value. But we are very intentional in making sure that every single school is a space where students are able to be their authentic self and know that they will be accepted and that they will be respected. And just to give a little context, I know there have been some questions about different clubs that we have, and it is actually a law that states that if there are non-curricular clubs, they're open for whatever the topic is. So say we had a snowboarding club. If we have a snowboarding club, then we can have other non-curricular clubs. So I'm gonna do it with us being skateboarding, yeah. So, yes. So we reach out to our students, and even as we saw with our creative drama kids, like, what is it that students want to feel that school is the place to be seen? And we listen and we support that. And I'm proud of that. And I think that with this board support, that's not something that we're willing or interested in changing. We're very much about making sure we follow rules. And we understand that sometimes there's different perspectives, but we know that we need to do what is in the best interest of our students. And that was something I heard loud and clear when I first joined this district, is that there's some groups of students who weren't feeling seen, respected, and valued. And as we did our equity principles, and that is one of them, we're going to keep supporting them. So I just wanted to highlight that piece. I also want to give a shout out to our WSTA members, our CSEA members, and our community partners, especially with the United Way, of this huge lift that we have been doing for community schools. I think back this time last year, we had about 2 weeks to write a planning grant. We just like, can we get the money to plan? And we hunkered down for about 5 days. And we were like, let's get it done because it's for our kids and it's for our communities. And we got that planning grant. And we did the same thing in August, where here our focus is on opening schools and making sure schools started. But we also had this opportunity of federal dollars that we were not expecting we didn't even know about, that we have this opportunity to write a grant to receive $2.5 million to support Riverbank and River City with federal dollars. And it was due to the community commitment that West Sac is about and the willingness of our United Way partners to say, you all are trying to open schools and you have a lot on your plate. Let us support you and help you to write this grant because we didn't really have the time or the personnel to do that. And being able to work, send data, what are the needs that we've heard through our strategic plan process, through the reopening town halls that we had back in the spring of 2021. Using that information, looking at the community partners that already work with our families and our kids, and we were able to submit this grant the first week in September. We had been in school maybe 3 weeks. We were able to submit this grant. There were over 200 applicants and only 42 districts in the country received this grant. And WUSD and United Way were one of those. So we now have about $500,000 that is going to each year for 5 years to support Riverbank and River City through that partnership. So then we go back to our community schools grant with our state dollars. So now the planning grant that we got this time last year, we're now in that phase of saying, how do we bring additional resources to our community? And we have had such wonderful conversations with our community partners, with our bargaining teams, because we're all committed. We're all looking for how do we do this for our students? And as I've told the committee and I tell staff, if there's a way that we can get extra dollars, that's what I'm going to do. How do we get extra dollars to support our kids? So we have some options. Actually, the state has this implementation grant that's available also next year. So we could pause, slow down a little bit, and apply next year, but it's going to be more competitive next year. So if we have the opportunity with all the information we have, with all the meetings that we have had, with all the input that we have had, it is maybe this is our time to do something right now where in August, if we get the grant, because there's no guarantee, if we get the grant, these are services that we can start right in August 2023-24 school year. So it has been an all-in. We have had many meetings, and every time we have a meeting, we know WSTA is like, we got you, we're sending somebody. CSEA is like, we're sending somebody. Our community partners are, we're sending somebody, and that's what it's going to take. So I just want to give that recognition, shout out a little bit of the timeline of how we've been putting all of this together so quickly. But in the end, it is about all of the things that are in our strategic plan about creating healthy relationships. We're focused on access and opportunity. We're making sure that everybody's valued and accepted, and really taking this opportunity for funding to remove that predictability of success or failure that's correlated with a student's social, cultural, or ethnic identity. And having a community schools process is about supporting students and families and making our schools the center of our community. So looking forward to getting that grant in mid-time this month and giving you updates of where we are in the process. Going back to Women's Day, I did have the opportunity. There was an Empower Her event at UC Davis. It was focused on working with middle school students across the county. They came to UC Davis. They had a day of workshops about communication and leadership. One that was very popular, they ran out of tickets for our young ladies, was about women's health, being a health and wellness advocate, and talking about your knowing your body and just things that are important to girls. So to see the things that girls wanted to talk about, it brings us things that we want to be able to offer in our schools. So that was a wonderful opportunity. Then this past Saturday, I was able to attend what we call Super Saturday, and it was a workshop for our teachers as they focused on learning what are the best practices as we prepare our students to highlight what they have learned throughout the year and preparing for CASP testing. We had about 45 teachers who came on a Saturday. It started out sunny, and then it started to rain, and I knew that it was good because they came back after lunch. So, when it comes back after lunch, we are meeting your needs in the rain. So very grateful to Director Ainsworth and the team for all of that. I've had the opportunity, as you all know, to do site visits. I was able to go to Stonegate and had a really good conversation with Principal Rab Patterson about the needs there. I met with the student advisory at Washington Middle College. And let me tell you, empowerment, our students don't have any problems telling you what they need. I came with an agenda. I just had to put my agenda to the side because the students had come with, here are the things that we would like to talk to you about. Here's what we see are the needs. They ended up being things that I had originally had on my talking points to get their input, but they came ready. So they always impress me. Again, I agree with the comments we heard earlier with the roadmap to the future event with YCOE, and that was really the point because YCOE, the city, the county, and the district with community partners, we've never really taken the time to all come together to say, what are the assets that we have in our community? I learned a lot about the preschool programs that we offer and seeing where things are. And so I'm encouraged that this was the first step in an opportunity for us to work together and really support and share resources. And with that, that's it for tonight.
Okay, thank you so much. Stephen Agus?
All right. I'm going to keep it short so everybody could go get some rest. All right, because it's Thursday, right? It's Thursday.
Not even though 10 o'clock.
We're doing great. No, gracias a todas las mujeres. All of you all, please give yourselves a round of applause. Like, mean it. You deserve it. Give yourselves a round of applause. You deserve it. Yes. And secondly, I'm just going to say that these are the type of meetings that I enjoy being a part of. Everything was from the transportation to talking about our SPED department to our wellness centers was all revolved. The conversations were about students. And that's why I decided to run for this seat. So just proud of the fact that tonight was all about students. And let's continue that momentum. Thank you.
Trustee Passati?
So just to piggyback on what Dr. Hildreth said about International Women's Day, I have a funny little anecdote about my daughter who came home to me yesterday and said, "Daddy, you need to celebrate me today because it's International Women's Day." Fair point. And I said, nice try, because we celebrate you just about every day. So good luck with that. But she's learning that, and I thought that was something that I took hold of and was like, yes, way to go, WSD. I'm glad that we're pushing this. I did have a question about the translation on what Ms. Garcia said, and I couldn't, maybe I didn't hear it correctly or I didn't understand it correctly. And what I thought I heard was that she was saying that WSD is causing mental illness by allowing LGBTQIA clubs to exist or to keep kids from telling their parents about these clubs. I that's the part I'm not sure if I understood correctly. But you hit the nail on the head in saying that, we are a welcoming society here in WSD, and we are protecting everybody. We are making sure that that all students feel welcomed and comfortable to be who they truly are. And so when I hear that, it hurts me a little to think that mental illness and somebody being LGBTQIA in the same spectrum of conversation is just, it was very hurtful. So anyway, I just hope that I can get clarification on that a little bit. Also, I requested that SB 691 to be heard in the policy committee back in February, and that's the dyslexia screening bill, saying that all students before second grade have to be screened for dyslexia. I can only tell you, for me, how much pain and suffering that would have saved had I been able to get help by second or third grade. So I wanted to make sure that, since we didn't hear it in policy committee, that we have the opportunity just to bring it directly to the board. So I would like to bring it to the board for a letter of support to go out. And with that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Coffee.
I got a lot on my Riverbank K-12 school notepad. Sorry. So first off, yes, I know it's Women's Day, International Women's Month, but this week was also Social Workers Week. So big kudos and shout out to our social workers for all the work you do. It doesn't go unnoticed. So just want to say that for sure. Last week, I was at Yolo High School for a huddle meeting that they had, and it was really great to see the kids get recognition on their hard work for those that are putting in the effort. They acknowledge their students on a different level and just getting them there. And standing in the back and the kids not knowing who you are, it's really fun just to listen to the conversations. And they're like, it's going to be me this time. I'm going to get called. And then they don't get called and they're like, dang. And then all of a sudden, one of the kids was like, that one's not me, and actually gets called. And then they're like, it was like, see, maybe next time for the other ones. They just had their handball tournament, as it was mentioned in the report. And I really wanted to go, but I was at my CSBA MIG 2 meeting. I was like, we're masters in governance trainings, and so by the time it ended, there was only 15 minutes left of the tourney, so I couldn't go. But my intention was to be there. So sorry, guys, I wasn't able to. Next one. One of the things that when I was there, that they were talking to me about was their handball wall and how they've been asking, and one of the students has been asking. He's been there. He's about to graduate this year, and kind of like, so. We're going to get that wall. So I'm just following up and trying to figure out, are we going to get that wall to them? Because I would really love to be able to see that happening for those kids, because especially since he's been asking for 2 years. So let's get on that. Let's see. Last week, also in regards to, it was Read Across America, and I was at Riverbank. And while at Riverbank, I did some reading to our moderate to severe classroom, and there was 2 classes in one class. So I understand that there was 2 teachers, and one of the teachers is a long-term sub, because we don't have a teacher there. And we also have the paras who are stretched thin. And you can see how one para has an impact on one student. And so when one is over here giving attention to a child who is in need, and then there's another issue going on, it definitely is important. So I'm not sure what more we can do to help get those resources and bodies in these classrooms, but we got to find a solution, because it definitely is needed. So that was one of the things. And then I also was did a reading at the Newcomer Center. It was real nice. Those kids are so sweet. Read to them, if you give a mouse a cookie. So they were like, I was like, we should go find some mice to see if they'll clean my house. Or not mine, but theirs. So it was kind of funny in that sense. Definitely great job of what's going on at Riverbank. So I got a few calls, or I should say a call, in regards to our 3rd graders at Riverbank, in the sense of they didn't have a teacher. It was a long-term sub, not long-term, that they didn't have a sub. So anyway, it was an issue, and I know we're low. I know, and it's not just us. And I recognize that, and I know it's hard, and I know we're trying to do as much as we can. It's just 3rd graders. The issue that was brought was some of the 3rd graders were placed in 5th grade classrooms, and if we can find somebody, I mean, shoot, call me up. I got my, I'll figure out what I need to do. I'll be there just to help out if we need to. But really, we shouldn't be mixing our 3rd grade classrooms with our 5th graders, especially since they are really different in that sense. But other than that, I mean, I know we are a really good school district. I have my kids here for the long run, and I commend all the teachers throughout, and everybody's doing a great job. Classified staff, you guys are all doing what you can, and it's appreciated tremendously. So really, really, my heart goes out to you guys, because job is tough. I was there, I'm not there anymore, but I definitely understand. So yeah, that's all I got.
President Kirby Gonzalez, can I say one thing? Because Clerk Coffey just triggered something I do want to highlight from our HR team. We had a sub appreciation day last year. It feels like a year. It was a week. Last week. And it was the first time that our wonderful HR team has organized an event where we appreciated our substitutes, and we let them know that they're part of our WUSD family, and how we know that their work is difficult, and that they are the stability for our kids when there are times when their permanent teacher is not able to be in the class. And so the feedback that we received from that event was our subs were so appreciative. They said that that's never happened, where they actually feel like they're part of the district and that they are valued. And so we also shared that this is a family. And so if subbing in WUSD is a place where you're seeing yourself make a difference, please reach out and share that word of mouth with any of your friends, peers who are interested in subbing, and ask them to to join our team. We're always looking to increase our sub pool because we know the impact on the entire school when our permanent teachers and our permanent classified staff are not there. So just want to thank HR for that innovative idea. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Vice President Wong.
Thank you. Thank you for going yesterday to UC Davis because I couldn't be there. It was our first ever, hopefully, annual Empower Her event organized with other female electeds in Yolo County. So thank you to UC Davis EAOPS for putting it together, and so glad that we were able to participate and send 30 kids, 30 young women, aspiring women who were trying to look for you before you left. Our kids were trying to look for you, which is, again, shows us our promise of equity, excellence, empowerment for every student every single day. So really great seeing that. And yes, I agree with the speaker earlier, the All In for Children event was great, but we did sit there and say, why are all the school district services not represented in these maps? So we can do probably a really better job. You're looking at me because in any case, that was a big aha moment of like, well, we need to talk to YCOE and the city about the things that we actually do offer on campuses, because we had 2 maps and it wasn't represented in either map. So that was a good conversation. I know that other people had other obligations, and so we hopefully represented well. We were there with our former assistant superintendent, Stan, actually facilitating. We said, Stan, you know about these. So what happened here? So in any case, we gave him a little bit of a hard time of like, now that you're YCOE, all of a sudden, like, we don't matter, huh? So he said, no, his heart is always here, and I understand that he's continuing to work with us in a different way. Thank you to all the schools who did Read Across America for the last several weeks. I know there were lots and lots and lots of different events. So appreciative, because that takes a lot of work to just lift that up. And so also in regards to the policy subcommittee, I know that President Kirby-Gonzalez had a conversation. We actually didn't vote on the other bill that was requested to look, because we need to revisit the purpose of the policy subcommittee and whether or not these things should just be a vote of the full board. Quite frankly, I know that Trustee Pizzado and I drafted the memo. I drafted the memo on creating the policy committee, and so it's probably time to actually revisit its purpose, because if we're going to take positions, oppose or support, we just need to have a rubric and understanding of what our purpose is, our jurisdiction is. Because I had realized that staff actually spent some time to do some analysis and on bills that may or may not be adopted. So just trying to probably have a transparent discussion about what is in the purview, because I had realized when you put the other bill, I'm like, oh, you spent some time actually on this. And so is that where we need to spend staff time versus alignment of our strategic plan and whatnot? So really appreciate actually, all these things. Wellness Center is super exciting. We've been talking about it for a long time. But I also, community schools as well. I feel like people are talking about it in separate buckets, but I feel like, no, it's actually all in our strategic plan. And we had full engagement with the entire community in our strategic plan. And so how do we lift that up to your point to make sure that we're not having distracted conversations versus strategic conversations, so that we can actually fulfill the intent of our mission? So that is just, I know that that is something that I will request at the end of this meeting to actually revisit the purpose of the policy subcommittee. So at the next board. And it was suggested that we should just bring those bills back up to the 23rd meeting anyways. So for full discussion, which is the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Okay.
Yeah. To piggyback on that, I'll say I was filling in on the policy committee, and so as an alternate. And so I just wanted to make sure, since it's already been shared, but I wanted to really make it clear, because I'm sure that you saw the agenda, and that's where this piece was coming from. And the dyslexia bill was asked to be on this agenda, and district staff did come with the language with it printed out, and we talked to that meeting that it could be discussed within the meeting. So it was with every intention not to leave that out. And then my understanding had been that yes, the policy committee did look at this because it was in the original written language, but it was again, I'm an alternate, and Vice President Wong felt strongly that we should not take action on it, and that we would bring it back here to make the decision of what the policy committee is, what we do. And so it will be on the next agenda for action as well. The bill. Yes, it will. You have our, and I am happy to remove Assembly Bill 984. That was my recommendation, and I will make a personal endorsement of that outside of my role, but the dyslexia one I think is very important, and I think that should take precedent of this. Okay. Well, we can, okay. It was asked to, yeah. So, okay, with that said, thank you for all the comments. Thank you to everyone up here. I think you hit on such important points about what our club's uses are, and important points about connecting to with what was said tonight with public comment. I also want to thank you for coming and advocating for special education, and for sending us your thoughts on that, and know that you are really heard and processing, and it has all been shared with staff as well. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. It was mentioned to have regular meetings, and I think, and it looked to me like possibly that might be a town hall format with families. And so if we can have our staff as well explore how we can connect with our families in a forum to ensure that we're making sure to hear their pieces as we serve their students. And I did go to the substitute appreciation, and at first I thought, are people going to come to this after school, after they've worked all day? I mean, unpaid, I don't know, will they cut? And I walked in, it was full, and it was fun, and there was really good food, and there were great cookies, and it was really good. And I walked around, I talked at every table, and it was so great to connect with everyone. But when I got home, my girl said, Mom, did you thank Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith is such a great, visiting teacher that we have. And I said, I don't know. I don't think I talked to Mr. Smith. So Mr. Smith, if you're out there. But our kids really do connect with our visiting teachers and our visiting classified subs as well. I mean, they play such a critical role in the district. And I was really, really grateful for that way to honor them and just connect. And then to come home and have my girls, kind of have that same sentiment was pretty special. I want to thank Principal Rodriguez for the visit to Riverbank as well. And like you, I got to see the SCC classrooms and the newcomers classrooms. And I had just watched on 60 Minutes a piece about Afghanistan, especially the Afghan girls who are not having access to an education in Afghanistan. And it just spoke to the responsibility that we have, that other countries really have right now, to educate these girls, to ensure that they're educated, to go back with the hope of going back. It was a beautiful 60-minute story of going back and making a difference in Afghanistan, and hopefully in a different climate, in a different place. But then to go into our newcomer center, which of course has students from all over the world, but just to really, see the connection that's being made, especially for the Afghan girls, was extra kind of poignant after that. And just what a huge responsibility that we have, and that those teachers are doing, and that they really stepped up and said yes to that, and deeply love what they're doing, and they're very, very good at it, and just really appreciate that. And also, as we were there, there were so many readers there, but Assemblymember Cecilia Aguiar-Curry was there as well. And so we had the opportunity, it just so happened, to kind of show off what's happening with where some of the community school discussion is. And so if we can, as a district, think about how can we bring her with with Doris Matsui, our Congresswoman, together into Riverbank or River City High School to see some of this work happening, that that the money, the federal dollars are helping support and our state dollars are helping support. I think that's a really, really good opportunity, and I think that we're doing things so well that they're important people to highlight that with. Also with that, the WASC, which the student board member made me laugh with that funny term, and I cannot quickly name off the term, Western Association. But that was a really great and welcoming space with River City High School staff, and so many families all came out and were there and were giving their input of their needs at River City High School, sharing the things that are going really well and sharing opportunities for improvement. And it was really special. Our culinary students made the meal, and that was on a Sunday, and they were about to head down to LA for a competition right after, so that was special. And a shout out to our syncopating sea monkeys in New Orleans right now, thanks to that quick board adoption. And I think that takes me through those pieces. We hit on, I did not bring this up earlier during transportation, and so I want to give a shout out to it now. I was at Middle College talking with Principal Lane, and she brought up that that's a unique situation because the students ride the bus to the Sac City campus, satellite campus, and then sometimes from there they go home. And so if we could have a way that a student could have a bike, either we need a bike rack on the bus, or there's a small group of kids, or they can just put the bike physically on the bus, because if there's a student bus rider or bike rider who's biking behind the bus on a windy day because he needs to have his bus to leave. So just if we can maybe figure out a way to accommodate that, it's a very unique situation, but it'll make a big difference and seems like an easy solution. And then thinking about transportation as well, thinking about where we pick kids up, because I looked at this space and I appreciated seeing at Riverbank where students who are being served in SCC classrooms wait for the bus, and we need them to be safe in a parking lot, but also what does that space look like? And how do we ensure that it's ADA compliant and good for them was a need as well that could go with transportation. And that's it for me. So that takes us now to our future board topics. And I heard you, Vice President Wong, talk about the policy, the intent of the policy committee, as well as the bill coming through. Okay. Are there any others? Future agenda. Yeah, got it.
This is not an agenda item, but I just want to say WASC is the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. I was going to bother me if I didn't know that. It's the accrediting commission, but WASC is Western Association of Schools and Colleges. Just for the record.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's a lot of acronyms, and sometimes we don't even. Thank you. And we appreciated having, and I know I should say that that is so much work for all of the staff at River City High School, and so appreciate them as well. And all that. Okay, with that, then we are going to adjourn and drive safe and have a wonderful evening.